Attention. Welcome to the Different Spectrums podcast. We dive into the wild world of mental health discussions. Get ready for profound talks, a sprinkle of humor and sarcasm, and a touch of colorful language. Just a quick heads up, our show reflects our individual opinions, which may not align with the standpoint of the podcast, our featured guests, or any related corporate entities. Our mission? To illuminate through laughter and satire because everyone needs a good chuckle. Chill out and don't stress over the small stuff. Legal troubles? No thank you. Cancel culture? Please spare us. We'd rather keep this space lawsuit free. So buckle up, have a good time, and join us as we navigate the vibrant realm of mental health on the Different Spectrums podcast.
Hey everyone, we got a different type of podcast for you today. It's actually just going to be me talking, and it's a keynote speech that I had the pleasure to give the other day in downtown Indianapolis for school social workers in the entire state of Indianapolis. It was a magnificent conference, and I highly suggest that any of you that are social workers that are working in the schools to join part of them. I'll leave all the information in the content section below. In saying that, I had a great time talking, and this is going to be a bunch of stuff about autism, neurodivergence, how to assess, support, treat, and re-understanding or re-looking at what it is to be autistic, what it is to be neurodivergent. We're going to go through things such as some key terms. We're going to go through a lot of statistics, some studies. We're going to talk about medication, and we're going to talk about ableism as well. And you're going to get to hear a little bit about my story. So I'm really excited to bring this to you. It is going to be an hour and a half long, and it was a magnificent thing that they paid me to do, which is super cool. I've never been a keynote speaker before for this many people. I think it was over like 200 to 350 people. It was fantastic. There's a ton of jokes in there, so remember, don't take it too serious because I do like to have some fun, but you're going to get a ton of education today and learn some shit and have some good laughs. So much appreciation, much love. And we're going to catch you in the following weeks in January with some more guests. And we'll go from there. Okay. Peace, homies. Bingo. How's everyone doing today, this morning? Yeah, how's everyone doing this morning? Yeah. Good? Lying asses. That's fine. So I'm not going to stand on this podium. It makes a lot of noise, and it's kind of wobbly. And with the autism, that's just not the move. So if you don't mind, I'm just going to pace back and forth, which is what I normally do during most of my talks. I just continuously pace. I like to make a lot of jokes, FYI. Kind of a funny dude. I will be inappropriate at times. The podcast is rated mature. If you do watch it, just like some of my homies in here, do not watch it with your children. We have fantastic guests, most of them neurodivergent, autistic, ADHD, tons of professional athletes that come on with us as well, too. If anyone watches football and you know Andrew Whitworth, who does Thursday Night Football, he was on yesterday. He was on the podcast earlier in the summer. Magnificent women, rugby athletes, Olympic athletes, pro skateboarders, all types of stuff. Besides the pod, Dr. Nazir Tafik Zerk II, Lebanese and Mexican. You can call me Dr. Naz, named after my grandfather. I've got Mexican roots, so grandparents immigrated from Mexico. Dad's side immigrated from Lebanon. My grandfather worked most of his life in Palestine. So any other Arabs that are in here today, shout out to you for surviving and living. See what else we got. I want to clear up some things real quick. So anyone that grew up on SNAP benefits, welfare, any of the WIC stuff, as I did, shout out to you for making it today to be a social worker, to give back to your communities like I am, and continuously doing that with all the work that you're doing. And that's not bullshit. Like, that food helps out a lot of hungry kids like me that were unhoused, undereducated. You know, they got one parent, father in prison like I did. It's intense. So shout out to y'all social workers doing the work, and those of you that are on SNAP benefits like me. So, appreciate you. Today we're going to talk about autism, and there's a couple key learning objectives, which I didn't write out. But one of the big ones is going to be how to properly assess or stop misdiagnosing or underdiagnosing autism and start taking in totality of what's going on with the little human in front of you. Specifically, I'm going to get into the clients that I'm actually talking about, but I like to save that for later. So it's really about assessing,
understanding what's going on in the totality and making sure that we're helping humans thrive, and then doing a little bit of myth busting as well too. For those of you that have been watching, doesn't matter what political party you're part of, watch the news, and you see a lot of horrible things in which they're always trying to abuse and shame mothers, whether it be Tylenol, vaccines, they're a bad parent, and this is what caused autism. Like, that's all not researched at all and horribly funded, like the stupidest stuff. You can do your own research if you want to. There'll be a couple studies that are very fabricated, horrible science, horrible background, and it is not scientifically significant at all. Autism is mainly genetic, looking at twin studies, and we're going to get into some really good talks about that. Normally, I'm like super, super, super anxious for talks. Not as anxious today, which is weird. I don't know why. Maybe it's I didn't take my blood pressure medicine. I don't know what's going on. Yeah. So normally, this is TMI, but normally I always have to like feel like I gotta pee. And like I'm just behind the table like, oh my God. Oh, it's a little tinkle, it's fine. So I'm happy this is good. I've done tons of talks with guest lecturing, other places around the United States, a lot of universities, because I've worked mainly at universities for the last 10 years. Also worked with a ton with athletes, D1 athletes. And one of the coolest talks I've ever did was 3 years in a row working with the Indianapolis Colts, the football team and the staff. RIP to Jim Irsay, who passed away. But he would always bring us in for Kick the Stigma for mental health. And these athletes are always talking about mental health, addiction, suicide prevention. What we're going to do to talk, let's see what we got. Oh, we're going to do some words. Got it. So there's some terms that folks should know, because there's some outdated terms about autism or neurodivergence, and I just want to make sure that we're using the right stuff. That way we're not harming people or like spreading like just outdated things. Who thinks they know the term neurodivergent? Raise your hand if you've heard the term neurodivergent. Raise your hand. Oh, it's a shit ton of you. Well, you're probably all using it wrong. So neurodivergent is a very much an umbrella term that covers everything. Does not simply mean autism, does not simply mean ADHD. So one of the homies, Sunny Jane Wise, magnificent autistic, non-binary individual out of Australia, we had them come on the pod. We literally only talked about dinosaurs. It was fantastic. And so this is what a lot of people mix up, is they think that neurodivergent means, oh, I'm neurodivergent. Oh, you got ADHD or you're autistic? That is not what it means. Neurodivergent means that your brain is wired in a specific way, in a different way, divergent from the other population, neurotypicals. So most of us in this damn room are probably neurodivergent. So if you want to actually be real, a lot of us have anxiety, OCD, trauma. Trauma causes the brain to be divergent in a different realm, such as hypervigilance and all these other things, right? So neurologically rewires you. So most of us in the room, probably neurodivergent. I assume all of us in the room have a social work master's, doctorate, or bachelor's. If you got a master's, you're a graduate student, you're anxious as shit. Like, you've done a ton of papers, ton of research, you've had imposter syndrome your whole life, you probably got some trauma, and that's why you're a caregiver, and you want to help all the babies out, and like you want to change the world, but then you don't get paid shit, and then like you're messing up at home. So like, you're stressed out, you're probably neurodivergent. I know the vibe. As someone that is autistic, ADHD, shit ton of trauma, but my father's autistic, disabled, I'm the caretaker, he's at home. And then my brother's autistic, but moderate functioning, and I'm the legal guardian for him. And so these terms mean a lot. So when we use the term neurodiverse is different. Neurodiversity, we all have neurodiversity. Everyone is neurodiverse. Not everyone is neurodivergent. So just making sure we're getting those terms clear when you're talking to your kiddos and their parents. Now when we go to autism, people will say autistic, autism, the autism spectrum, they'll say the spectrum. They may say Asperger's, we're going to get into that. They may say Aspie. They may say TISM, risen with the TISM. Or they may say neurospicy. Neurospicy would include everyone, not just autistic folks. But normally they say neurospicy is us. The reason why we don't use Asperger's, because it's no longer in the DSM, even though a lot of people feel much more comfortable with Asperger's, because they feel like it's less stigmatized and they're more normal, or a word we don't use really anymore is higher functioning. So also with his Nazi backgrounds and the scientist Hans Asperger, right, there's reasons why we don't use that term anymore. So I highly suggest that you don't use it, because when you come into a crowd with people that are autistic and they know what the hell they're talking about, they're going to get super pissed. And any folks that support any type of white supremacy or any of that shit, if you want to use it, that's cool. I would not use Asperger's anymore. When it comes to the functioning labels and levels, so they used to say like high functioning, right? Medium functioning, and like low functioning. High functioning would be someone like me, take care of themselves, wash, bathe, highly educated, like they're doing pretty good. They have their little freakouts and temper tantrums, and they're like rocking and stimming and echolalia and a bunch of other weird shit that I do. But they're like overall function pretty well. Then you got moderate needs like my brother, that socially doesn't kind of know what's going on, gets taken advantage of, has more mental health like breakdowns and issues, OCD, ADHD, not able to fully cook for himself, or if he does cook for himself, it's not any foods that's usually really good. It's usually just straight up chicken nuggets. And if you just do that, then you end up getting diverticulitis and a bunch of other shit, and next thing you know, your teeth are going rotten. I had one kid, love this boy. He's like, I'm not autistic. I'm like, dude, you only eat M&Ms. The fuck do you... You only eat M&Ms. She's like, well, that doesn't make me autistic. Like, you were wearing an M&M shirt. Well, you also have M&M sheets. You showed me them. And I was like, where's your Lego collection? That's a joke. I can joke about my population. So, like, these terms do mean something. So if you want to use also person-centered or person-first language, like, a lot of us really don't care. But some folks want to be called an autistic person or a person with autism. I'm an autistic person, period. So I like to be Nas autistic dude. He's not a person with autism. Neurologically, that just don't sound right to me. But you can go either way. A lot of people really don't care. Some people do have a preference. Let's keep it moving. Shit, we're going to talk about more autism. Go figure. This is one of my favorite projects. Like, I didn't even go into this field to work with autism. I went in to become a physical therapist because I am super creepy and I love muscles. So I wanted to work with athletes, specifically black and brown athletes. As a collegiate football player, this is all I wanted to do. I wanted to work with athletes, our population, the black and brown folks are usually playing sports, so that's what I wanted to do. Can't get into school because my ass is dyslexic as hell and I can't fucking write. So I didn't have the GPA to get in, became a social worker. So the writing skills got a lot better. There was a lot of tears, and I had a lot of mentorship, a lot of writing workshops, and I had to go back to community college for a lot of that too, because I actually ended up failing out of my college back in Detroit. So when we talk about these autism rates, right, and what's going on, so it is actually kind of wild. It was discovered a long, long, long time ago. A lot of people will say that, you know, maybe it was Hans that discovered this, but it actually goes even further back. I forgot what time it was discovered, but it was a Jewish woman, to put respect for that. So we started recording this stuff in the year 2000. Damn, George Bush did this shit? Okay. All jokes aside. So back in the day, if you had autism, they saw you as completely incapable of anything. They thought you were schizophrenic. You were most likely institutionalized. And in many cases, like sentenced to death even before that. So this has been building and building and building and building. And what we're seeing now is this term like neurodivergent, which is much more affirming, right? And we have these medications, we have these therapies, we have speech and language pathology, we have resources, we have respite. Some folks really don't know what ABA therapy is, and a lot of people shit on it for being like harmful to autistic children. If done in the right way, it's fantastic. Also, it's usually the number one thing that assurances will actually pay for. So before you crap on something, make sure that's the only thing that we can actually get as a population. But I was talking to a young mom yesterday, and the speech language pathologist, I think, cost her $300 a month out of pocket after insurance. And she's like, how do I afford that? As a single mom, working as a nurse is too much. So we don't have a lot of resources, but it's been building and building and building and building. And so people will be like, it's the Tylenol, or it's the moms being shit. I was like, well, my mom wasn't the best, but that's not why I have autism. Oh my God. And so we start to see it build. In 2008, 2009, that's when we actually saw a huge increase in money. So Obama and Bush, right, the administrations were, they see autism, right, and what they came is this Autism Cares Act. I think it gave $500 million for autism research, which was mostly looking for cures at the time. which is not appropriate, but it did start the pendulum swing. In 2019, we see a huger influx of money that was put through for much more affirming, understanding, assessing, and diagnosing. But as you see, like the pendulum, a lot of this is going to be because of medications. Medications in our population being able to live and survive without the horrific suicidality, and not like OCD, we're like, oh, I want these candies to be in a line. Like, holy shit, I'm thinking about murdering myself, my family. I'm thinking that there's maggots in my food every day. And then we perseverate on it, perseverate on it, perseverate on it. And so you'll get some folks like me that script, and they talk to themselves, or they talk to ghosts in their heads. And then you get some folks like me with what we call hyperphantasia, which means everything's very visual. And so if I see it in my head, I can touch it, I can feel it, I can taste it. All the emotions that when it happened that day, that traumatic event happened, if I just think about it, boom, I can feel it. So when you take these folks with this type of autism, and you take away their abilities to like neurologically calm their vagus nervous system, we get just a lot of folks with no support. So the medications have been fantastic for that. The therapies have been fantastic for that. Now, institutionalizing all of us has been fantastic for that. I think when I got out of graduate school at 2016, so I'm like, oh shit, 1 in 54? I think the main number I was using for the past 4 years, like 1 in 36, that's what it's been. President and the idiot for the healthcare said that now it's like 1 in 31. So that's actually a real number. So autism is 1 in 31 now. People in the US population. If you look for men, it's 1 in 20. Those numbers are odd. If you look for women, it's 1 in 70. Those numbers are odd. That math ain't really mathing right there. In California, though, everyone put together is 1 in 12.5, which is very, very interesting. So when we looked at these statistics, where it used to be 1 in 150, now we see why people are freaking out. Everyone's autistic now. You're on TikTok, and all you fuckers are autistic. I'm like, calm down, boomer. Calm down. How do you know you're autistic? Well, let me show you my Lego collection. Let me show you my dad pacing in circles. FYI, if you pace in circles, you're probably autistic. I'm very sorry. A lot of us pace, but in circular motion, that's very interesting. We can talk about that later. So when we look at these statistics, I've been telling people for years it's probably 1 in 20, like it's closer to 1 in 20. The administration came out the other day and said that in California it's looking like 1 in 5 like men, 1 in 4 men, which is kind of wild. My research in the doctorate dissertation was all on, surprise, FYI, my presentation is going to be on women and not white dudes. Sorry, white dudes in the room. You can leave if you want. That's a joke. So specifically, my research was feminist theory, which is actually disability theory as well. It's intertwined into it. And so when we start looking at all the intersections and what actually makes someone autistic, you start to get away from the ableism, which we're going to be talking, the whole presentation is technically about ableism. And you start to see the numbers drastically like reduce, and we start to diagnose women way higher than 1 in 70, way, way, way higher. The number's probably like 1 in 20 in my mind, but it could be even more. I think it's fantastic to see these numbers. Most Americans get terrified because they're like, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on? Is it food? Is it the pesticides? Like, what is causing this? It's just we're able to diagnose it now. Me doing presentations like this, like the kids getting access to like actual resources. I know it's TikTok and Instagram, but still actual like resources where they're starting to ask questions and they're starting to ask their parents. They're asking their parents and they're asking their moms like, hey, I think I got this thing. And the mom's like, no, you don't. The kid keeps asking, hey, I think I got this thing. Like, no, you don't. Kid eventually gets diagnosed, or they see some weirdo like me, and I'm like, so someone in your family's got autism. And then they go back home, they have real discussions, and the parent usually calls me super mad. That's usually how that goes. And then I send the kids for neuropsychological testing, even after the doctors crap on me, say the kid's not autistic. Then the doctor's like, nope, the kid is autistic. Now I'm like, so do I get an apology from the doctor that said I was stupid and patted me on the back and was like, attaboy, do I get an apology? No, got it. I'll never send clients to you again. Got it. One quick thing about this presentation. I did it on Canva. I wanted to be like kind of nerdy and playful, like hella neurodivergent like myself. And I got on it. I was like, oh, this is super fun. And it was all like white characters. And so then I had to go in and replace all the white individuals with people of color. And my dad was like, why are you spending so much time on this? I was like, this shit matters. And then we get late into the presentation. He's like, you can't delete all the white people. And I was like, okay. He's like, you're talking to a group of largely white women. I was like, oh, whatever, It's fine. It's just things that people of color think about. So not everyone in the room would notice that, but I noticed it. I'm like, oh, where's the little brown boys? There's no brown kids in here? Oh, okay, interesting. So I decided to put a lot of specific photos that are in there because we are medical professionals, doctors, therapists, whether you're autistic or neurodivergent, we as people of color do exist. Got it. So we're gonna talk, I already kind of touched on this. So everything that we talked about when it comes to like Tylenol, extremely refuted. It's not true. The vaccines is the thing that's pushed all the time as well too. I remember during COVID, a bunch of my clients were getting the COVID vaccine and my girlie walks in, PhD student, she said, well, I'm screwed. And I said, what happened? She said, I got the COVID shot. I said, that's good. She said, I got autism. I said, again? And I was like, you're making a joke, right, girl? She's like, of course I was making a joke. I was like, we're too autistic for this. I can't tell who's joking. Fantastic, awesome, magnificent human. But she would make jokes and I'd never know what the hell she was saying. But, so we do these genetic studies and we do see like this is a thing that's replicated throughout families. I'm not gonna out anyone here, but do you raise your hand if you love someone that is autistic, or you know someone that is autistic, or you yourself is autistic? Hell yeah. We are out there and alive and functioning. Some cases are hard. A lot of kids with a lot of issues, a lot of grown-ups and family members with a lot of issues. Many of us are like thriving and surviving with resources, with support, with care, with medication, right? With therapists, with group therapy like I run. We can make it. So those of you that are struggling, that are moms, and your kid's autistic, please have faith. Do not go so far down the grief spiral that your kid will not be normal, that they will not be happy, that they'll not be happily married, or blah, 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 blah. Stop projecting your shit onto them and know that you're gonna do your best as a mom, and they're probably gonna be happy as shit, and you're like, how do you know they're gonna be happy? Because they're happy as shit now. And that's usually when my moms start crying. Like, how do you know? I'm like, they're having fun kicking it with me. They're doing their thing. They're going to school. Just because they're in the room alone, or just because they're like wearing this, or just because they're queer or trans, doesn't mean that they're not going to be happy. They might be oppressed and terrified, but they're going to be happy. But when we look at cases, anyone ever heard of Flint, Michigan? Raise your hand if you heard of Flint, Michigan. Damn, that's probably not for good reasons. So Flint, Michigan is where I'm from, and my father's from, my family's from. My grandfather immigrated there because of jobs, General Motors, right, Buick, so it's all downtown there. And then obviously everything left and got shipped out to like Mexico and like China and a couple other places, Canada. But when you look at cases of the Flint, and then you have the water crisis, so many of these babies were poisoned, and right, it started causing some severe neurological issues. That lead that was in the water ended up stopping a lot of neural growth and development. And so when you go into the schools, maybe not as much now, but when you're in K through 12, like at least 4 years ago, you're seeing a lot of autism rocking and stimming. A lot of behavior issues, just the teachers completely overwhelmed, the parapros completely overwhelmed. And I'm like, damn, are all these kids autistic? There's no way all these kids are autistic, right? Because I'm in there helping out and volunteering a couple times a year with students doing mission trips. And no, everyone's talking about the water. And you see the research and the studies. So that water crisis was obviously terrible, but it cost billions and billions and billions just in resources for those kiddos because of the neurological issues. So it looks like autism in those cases. That is not autism, right? You see the brain. So it could happen in utero where there's some type of deficient thing. It could happen afterwards. It could happen where there's like a TBI, traumatic brain injury, and so that will mimic some autistic related things. We're gonna get into in a second with ADHD and a few other things. Still not fully autism. It looks like it is not it. This is where we start to get into some of the meat and potatoes of like what it is the hell I do. So when you're looking at autism, there's a million comorbidities. Anxiety is going to be the highest one. Depression is not solely because it's a neurological issue. It's because most of us are like super othered. So we are normally like the weird kids, the funny kids, the super goofy kids, the inappropriate kids. We're also the ones that are in the corner, maybe not talking to anyone. We're the ones that can't really socialize all the time, or we don't want to socialize, not because some of us don't want to socialize, and we're fine chilling. Most of us want to, but it's been so traumatic over the years and years, and the parents keep telling us to do better. You suck, you're terrible. Why are you weird? Why are you like this? Stop doing that. Stop playing with your beard. Stop playing. Stop rocking. So eventually we just mask so much, specifically women, that they get super burned out and then they just shut up. They just stop talking completely because their mind is already gone, which is super sad. I was in urgent care with my father yesterday, very disabled. He didn't want to go to the doctor the day before, but we went yesterday because we all got sick, and then I thought he had pneumonia. Turns out it's just bronchitis, but we're in there, and the doctor's like, hey, can you stop playing with your beard? I just laughed, and I was like, what? He's like, yeah, it's distracting me. I said, okay, yeah, that's funny. I was like, I'm autistic, and I'm actually kind of freaking out thinking that my disabled father's going to die. I'm trying not to cry. I'm also trying not to cry now. And it's like super fucked up to say, but I went with and rolled with it because that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to mask and be cool. Also, I want to make sure my father gets the medicine and make sure that he gets taken care of. So if I freak out and melt down, like that's not going to be good. He's not going to get the services he needs. But often you'll see people like say things to us that are very ableistic. What does it matter if I'm playing with my beard? It does not matter. What does it matter if your kid's doodling or drawing in the classroom? It does not matter. What does it matter if they're playing with a fidget toy? It does not matter if they're playing with a fidget toy. Most of my kids are trying to self-regulate because there's too much damn noise in the room. There's too much stimuli in the room. And so they're just trying to regulate. Obviously, sometimes it gets weird if like they're picking or doing anything inappropriate, right? But you try to navigate that and replace that stim with a better stim. You're not taking away them self-stimming because all of us are just trying to regulate in some type of way in this life. And many of us are like drowning out on social media and like Instagram and all that shit, or like watching things or watching the same Netflix shows over and over. These kids are just doing what they need to do in the classroom to like chill out. So please don't take that away from them. That's very messed up. I couldn't believe that they said that to me, but whatever. My dad's like, it's fine. I was like, no, it's not fine. What the fuck? So when we're looking at these indicators for the kids and we're talking about connecting the dots, there's so many different things. So normally when I'm assessing, right, you're doing your biopsychosocial. All of us know this. We've been doing this for years. But you like to line things up. So you look at the anxiety. They talk about OCD. They talk about certain things that they like, special interests. Autistic people tend to farm into certain special interests more than others. Maybe you see there's some type of stimming. Maybe they're not the best with eye contact. That's a myth, FYI. Many of us can make fantastic eye contact. Some of us are trained to do it because we've been traumatized about it. I'm pretty good at it unless I get super close, and then I start to like tweak out, and I can only do it for like a few seconds, and then I'll like look away. That's also why my group therapies and all my therapy sessions are like pretty spaced out, because I'm like, I can't fucking look at you that close. Like, and I'm a dude, and I'm like, we're not getting to this. You're gonna stay way in that corner, I'm gonna stay way in this corner. Nas, I can't hear you. It's fine. I'll call you. It's fine. So let's keep it moving. I'll get into more of the statistics for like all the disorders in a second. I also like it's really cool when you look at Gen Pop. I don't know if anyone ever calls Gen Pop. I don't know what to call it. When your father's been an inmate for a majority of your life, like he calls it Gen Pop. I don't know. Yeah. All right. So the general population is 7.6% where folks identify as queer. It could vary. It's under 10% identify as queer. When you're looking at autistic individuals, it's going to be closer to that 35%. That could be genderqueer, that could be sexual orientation queer. We're just gonna label that as queer for now. I didn't put on this slide because it looks like I forgot or I ran out enough room. When you see trans individuals, and this is the statistics reported by them, so not 80% of individuals that are trans, non-binary included, as trans, 80% of them identify as autistic. So just keep that in mind. Doesn't mean that every single person that is trans is autistic, but a high majority of us are in that population of genderqueer. So keep your ears open when you hear that. Or when you have some kiddos questioning their gender, things like that too, right? Your ears should be up and you should already start tabulating things. When we're looking at anxiety, a ton of us are anxious as hell because we're like a trauma victim almost. We're trying to decipher everything and we're very hypervigilant, so we're super aware of everything and it's all overwhelming. Also, some of us have sensory issues, so anxiety is high, depression is high, OCD is high. It's not just the pure OCD where it's super intrusive thoughts. Sometimes it could be just destabilization if a certain thing doesn't go a certain way. And the parents will repeat to the kiddos, it always has to be your way, it always has to be your way. And then the kid grows up with that. Most of my girlies have to live with that, so whenever they advocate for themselves, whenever they ask anything, whenever they try to push back, they always feel like shit and they end up deregulating, and it has to be me in their corner to gas them up in a good way to like fight back, all that horrible bullshit or horrible religious trauma that they go through. Eating disorders, from all the books that you'll read, it says that as soon as you hear eating disorders, not saying that all eating disorders means autism, that is not what I'm saying at all. But as soon as you hear an eating disorder in a kid, now your ear should be up again. So it's a certain type of like OCD as well too, specificity. A lot of my kiddos have ARFID. Raise your hand if you know what ARFID is. Yeah, some of those kids are autistic, FYI. You're like, oh, you just got this. Yeah, it might be autistic. ARFID is a restrictive avoidant feeding disorder. So they're restricting not because of body dysmorphia. They're restricting because of texture, smell, like there's something that's going on to their palate, their taste, whatever it is, that this is not the move. You're like, oh, they just need to eat your vegetables. Yes. And there's a chance we just need to switch the vegetable from this to this. So you'll see that quite often. You'll see a lot of us in the autistic community eat a high rate, and not everyone. You will get a lot of folks that are like vegan, vegetarian, very strict on that as well too. But many of us eat a very processed, bland, very gray palate. So you'll see that very gray, brown, like palate, cardboardy palate. The joke is like we all like chicken nuggets and chicken tenders. So like if you go into a group of like autistic folks and you go into dinner, you're like chicken tenders? Because it's a safe food. So a lot of us have these things called safe foods. So just know that when you're dealing with an autistic individual, there could be safe foods. Those of you who are social workers and keep food in your room like I do, because my kids have autism, ADHD. Sometimes their neuroreceptors don't tell them when they're hungry. So I keep snacks in the room. All types of different bars, whether it be squishy, crunchy, different types of little things that they can drink, doesn't matter. Because some of my babies come to me hungry. How the hell can we do work if you're hungry? Like that's a basic necessity. So I'm like, oh, we're gonna sit and eat. But it makes too many crunchy noises. I don't care. Like it's fine. Like, doesn't it bother you? I was like, I have the type of autism where I like certain stimuli. They're like, oh, that's weird. It's like, shut up. Don't you judge me in my own therapy session. So that's why I like to stick on the eating disorders, because it is a very big thing. Trichotillomania, some of you may know what that is. It's the picking. Specifically, it's usually like hair, eyebrows. Echolalia. Echolalia can be multiple things. Raise your hand if you know what echolalia is, please. Okay, so a good amount of people. It could be an echolalia stem where it's nonverbal and it's in your head. So it's like a song or movie quotes in your head and you're repeating it. So I have a ton of those. Some of those are family, some of those are movies and shows. That's why I have the podcast on movies and shows. And you just repeat these things. And as soon as it gets stuck, that earworm, it's just in there. You have some kiddos that are gonna say it out loud though. So if you say something like, how's your day? How's your day? My day's good, my day's good, my day's good, my day's good. Because they're saying their thoughts out loud. And so you'll see that echo with them verbally out loud. They'll also repeat me sometimes. So that one's funny. I had one boy, I was doing therapy with like 2017. I'm like, bro, you know you repeat me a lot too, right? And it's like under your breath. He's like, no, I don't do that. Okay. I want you for homework to, when you're walking and hanging out with your girlfriend, I want you to like just see, when she asks something, or when you say something, do you mumble under your breath? Comes back to me 2 weeks later. He's like, fuck, man. He's like, I don't think I'm autistic, though. Doesn't mean that you're autistic, but you are. Right? All these things I'm talking about does not mean that you're autistic. It's a tabulation of everything. Everything. People are like, oh, you diagnosed it too quick. That's not true. I wait so long. I do so many screeners. I do so many things with my kids. It's intense. Oh, yeah. So Purdue University, right down the street from here, is going to have some of the highest rates of autism that there are, because it's one of the top STEM schools in America. So it's just kind of right below like MIT related stuff. And you're going to see a lot of us that go on mathematics, engineering, chemistry. I have not met one chemist that is not autistic. I'm just being not met one aerospace engineer that is not autistic, undergrad or PhD. Most PhDs, in my eyes, when I look at them, I'm like, most PhDs, doesn't matter what program, I swear to God, are autistic. A lot of the psychologists that you know that are kind of assholes and they're kind of mean and quiet, autistic. Straight up. I'm just being real with you. You're like, no, they're just narcissistic. Well, it could be that too. I hate them so much. I'm not getting into that. Sleep issues. The reports show 50%. I think it's much higher than that. A lot of us just underreport it. So you're going to see some insomnia, restless leg syndrome, where they're constantly just stimming with their legs back and forth. You're going to see a lot of rocking and rolling. You're also going to see a lot of night terrors in your kiddos. You're going to see a lot of nightmares. So in heightened anxiety and stress, when they're going through school, whether it's bullies, exams, or whatever it is, you're going to see the sleep issues exacerbate. And some of those can be like just, like weird dreams and like fun. They're like riding on magic carpets and shit, like aliens. And then there's some that are horrible, that the hyperphantasia kicks in, and whatever abuse that they went through now is like the main thing that they see over and over and over. And then my girlies can't sleep, which is horrible. So when you see a kid that like looks super, super, super tired in class, it's not because they're a bad kid or a lazy kid. All of us know that there's something going on at home. And it might not be the parents, but it could be their neurology. Gastrointestinal issues, hopefully everyone sees that. 85%, that's like high as shit. It's out of 100, so 85% is pretty high. Just so you that not good at math. That's fine. Some of you may have dyscalculia. It's fine. It's cool. I got dyslexia. 85% is nuts. So when you talk to your kiddos, make sure you ask them, so how's your pooping? Why are we talking about poop now? It's just my favorite topic. But it's not always diarrhea. It's not always diarrhea. A good majority of the time is actually going to be severe constipation, which is going to lead into a lot of issues. That constipation may not be because of just pure anxiety. It also could be because the food that they're eating certain foods that are not getting enough fiber. Also, they're probably terrible at drinking water. So a good majority of you probably have constipation now. That's not because you're autistic. You just need to drink more water. That's a joke. No, you should drink more water. That's not a joke. So gastrointestinal issues, also nausea. And nausea is really high in our population. And then what that ends up doing is the kids end up freaking out about throwing up. And so now they're just freaking out about freaking out, and it just leads into this horrible cycle of freaking out. So you'll see a lot of nausea. A lot of you that love somatic work, a lot of autistic folks have this thing we call alexithymia. So we don't know what it is, our emotions inside of us, or how to identify them. They may not have the words. They may not have the sensory abilities, but what they do know is their body's freaking the hell out. So make sure you're really focused on the body and somatic work when you're looking at autistic clients. So asking about their tummy issues, nausea, asking about acne, asking about picking or stimming, right? You still need to look at the body and what it's telling you. All the reports and studies show that the highest rate of diagnosis currently right now is middle-aged women. And middle-aged women specifically going through extreme burnout. And they're reporting all these physical symptoms. And then they go to the doctor, and the doctor's like, you're just anxious. She's like, I want to die, but I don't want to die. And I'm dissociating, but I don't know why. And I feel like a shit parent. And then I can't show up at my job. And then it's just complete extreme fatigue and burnout. Normally it's because hidden masked autism or ADHD what leads them to like tanking. Anxieties could be anything generalized. Social anxiety obviously is a huge one because they're trying to mask and like fit in. Panic disorder, right, coming out of nowhere. Panic disorder, different than anxiety attacks. Separation anxiety, so that's when we start to talk about a little about a borderline personality disorder. So, right, it's that extreme deregulation when they feel abandoned or imagined or unimagined or real, like abandonment. And so they'll usually label my girlies immediately borderline. If they self-harm, borderline. If they're like loud and emotional, borderline. If it's a boy, oppositional defiant. Well, fuck, why didn't you call him borderline like the girl? Because he's a boy. What? Oh, okay. And that's all like true. Many of you know that's true. We gender a lot of disorders. So some of these folks will be borderline, but when you look at the cutting, is it for self-regulation? Like, why are they actually doing it? Stop telling my girlies that they're doing it for attention. They're probably depressed, miserable as fuck, trying to self-regulate. There's shit going on at home. Their parents are probably autistic too, right? There's just a lot of reasons on why my girlies are going through a lot of emotional stuff. And then what we know is autistic people, ADHD people, have rejection-sensitive dysphoria. So that's we have so many bad interactions throughout our lives, so many. And they keep adding up, adding up, adding up, adding up, adding up. That's when they start, I'm always going to be alone. I'm going to die alone. I'm terrible. I'm worthless. So anytime I have an interaction with you, and like I try to laugh and like you don't like do anything or say anything, I'm like, oh, fuck, I'm terrible. Immediately you want to kill yourself and then you self-harm. Or you go into your shell and cocoon like I do. So before big talks like this, Najee's like, you're so energetic and you're extroverted. I was like, you have no idea. I hate people. I only shop late at night. I only go to the gym late at night. I talk to my clients and then I usually die at the end of the night and I just want to play video games. Before this, I script. So before any big talk I do, doesn't matter. I think I'm not as nervous. Someone was like, that was awesome. I think because I don't have to script as much. I don't have to script every single interaction. And I no longer have imposter syndrome. That helps. But I still didn't sleep till like, 2 in the morning? Normally I just stay up through the whole damn fucking day. Then I do the talk. And then I don't go to sleep that night because I'm thinking about all the shit that I fucked up, or all the jokes that were inappropriate, or like, the people like, oh, he's terrible. And some of you will hate me. That's completely fine. My goal is not for you to like me. My goal is to let you know to stop hurting my little girls. Because I don't need to see them when I'm like 50 and they're 35 and then going through it and they want to die, and now they're hurting their children that are autistic because they can't show up because they're burned out. I don't care if you like me. As my father would say, get in line. But that's a very inmate thing to say, but whatever. So we talked about depression, we talked about ADHD, we talked about burnout, we talked about rejection-sensitive dysphoria. Come on. Now look at that, a presentation. So what we're getting into is a lot of mothers identifying themselves after their kiddos are getting diagnosed. What we know is a lot of the criteria was based on white dudes, like most of DSM, white dudes. Like, it is what it is. I mean, I'm not a fan of you, but like, I'll talk to you. White dudes. That's a joke. Someone please laugh. Thank God. That's why I'm going to look away now. Love y'all. So what we're seeing is like women being historically excluded from like literally everything. And so why I wanted to bring gender and race into it, I'm not sure if I have it in the next slide. But we see white males up here getting diagnosed at the highest rates. Then we see a bunch of other males of like different ethnicities and background, racial backgrounds. And then we see white women that's way below under all the dudes. And then we see black and brown women, specifically brown women, Hispanic women, are diagnosed the lowest rates of autism. The lowest rates. Which is wild. There's so many of us that are of color, indigenous, black, brown, Hispanic, Arab like me that are not getting diagnosed. And it's like horrifically sad. Because then they come to me and I'm like, this is a thing. They're like, it's not a thing. It's not a thing. I'm like, I'm telling you this is a thing. 2 years later, she's like, yeah, I think it's a thing. I'm like, it's my face my father looks when I swear. Fucker. I talked about the funding already. We don't need to get into that. So, right, as you know, is like you're doing the genetic assessing for like parents. Like, actually listen to it. I know a lot of you tune it out. A lot of you like, FYI, if you want the slides, I'll make sure that they send it out to you. I see a lot of people doing that. No, like, shame against it. I like to people be very mindful because I'm very mindful on a lot of things. And my dyslexic ass, if I try to read, I'm not paying attention. No shame at all if you want to take photos. Get back on track. Here we go. Legitimately look at the parent background. So people are like, well, I don't need to ask that. Yes, please, God, ask their parents. So do you have any parents with any mental health related issues? Well, no. What about undiagnosed? ADHD, and just list it. ADHD, autism, schizophrenia, bipolar, anxiety, OCD, any of those things. Oh, maybe my one parent has this. Oh, they got friends? They got support? What are their special interests? Oh, this. Oh, okay. And in your head, you're just collecting data. Then you ask about siblings, right? So you just go down the chain. But then don't leave that out. I want you to go to aunties and uncles because, right, it's somewhere in that family tree. So just because it's not in the immediate parents or siblings, you might see it in aunts and uncles. And then you follow that tree all the way up to where the hell it started and whatever. We're all immigrants here. So whatever immigrant background that came from. Unless you're native, you're an immigrant, FYI. I'm pretty sure you all know that. So that's one of my favorite parts to do because I'm like, oh, I see it. There's like 7 engineers in this line. Yeah. Yeah, your dad's in the corner playing video games right now? Yeah. Yeah, he's probably autistic. Specifically, though, a really cool thing to look at is there's this little triad that hangs out in our genome. I forgot which alleles it is. I feel like it's like A23 or something like that. I don't know. My old boss will hate me for this. But you'll see this triad. It's autism, bipolar, schizophrenia. You'll see that a lot in a family. So when you see schizophrenia or bipolar disorder, start to already, ears are up. So there could be possible some other type of neurodivergence, which is autism, in that family lineage. It's very common that you're going to see bipolar disorder and autism, or autism and schizoaffective, maybe bipolar subtype. You'll start to see that. A lot of schizoaffective folks will look autistic if you actually pay attention to it. Not saying that they are, but they can mimic a lot of the traits and criterion. Some of the personality disorders too. So if they, you see like, oh man, this parent's definitely like borderline personality. Sometimes you'll see the narcissistic parent as well too. It could be some autism in there as well too. Many of us do present as narcissistic, Whether we talk about our special interest or we're cold, we're very, very self-serving, we need it our way, right? But normally the difference is we're not maliciously trying to hurt people. We're not trying to take advantage of people. It's usually a very like selfish thing for survival. There's a lot of nuances in it, in personality disorders. What time is it? What time am I done?
9:45.
Oh, holy shit. I don't know. When you're autistic and you don't know how you feel until like 3 a.m, how are you feeling? I don't know. Because normally when you ask me how I'm feeling and I actually try, I just cry. So it's like, I don't know. Oh no, I don't feel good. Yep, got it. I don't cry because I'm sad. I just cry because I'm overwhelmed with emotions. I can only process emotions if I'm in the car or if I'm in a weight room. For some reason, those are the only places I can process. Like I'll sit down in the weight room and I'll like just dissociate and just process all the emotions, thoughts, feelings, my clients, family, dynamics, the fucking world. And I'll just zone out. And then I could be crying, may not be crying, depends on the song that comes on. And then I finally come to conscious. I'm like, oh my God, it's been 20 minutes. I've been staring at this girl's feet for 20 minutes. It makes sense why I'm getting arrested. Jesus Christ. I didn't even get to take a picture of her feet. That was a joke, very inappropriate, very sorry. Very sorry. I don't like feet, but somehow it always comes up in every presentation. My friends think I have a feet thing. I have one friend I met, autistic friend I met on a plane in 2016 for my first job interview. Somehow I talked about feet with her. To this day, we're still good friends. And her autistic ass sends me foot memes continuously since 2016. If I go on my phone, there's 50 foot memes. I'm like, girl, stop. She's an aerospace engineer at Blue Origin. Probably should go back and do that slide. So this is autism. This is a joke, but not a joke. Autism sucks, brother, to diagnose, because you have individuals that are hypersensitive to like everything, or they're going to be like hyposensitive to everything. So you take someone like my brother, where if I would flick him in the shoulder, he would freak out. He gets a tattoo full sleeve, completely fine. He falls down, hurts himself, get hit in the head, completely fine. Where me, it fluctuates, hyposensitivity. I can usually take a good amount of pain because like my brain will dissociate and go somewhere else into a different place. But the hypersensitivity when it comes to light, texture, smell, temperature. I remember one girlie was sitting in the waiting room at my old university and it was underneath the heater vent. And she got back to my office and she was like red and splotches, like broke. I'm like, are you okay? She's like, I don't know what's going on. I'm like, something's not good because you like, you started COVID. Like I can tell it originated from you. This is not good. That's a joke. And then we figured out that no matter what, every time that she went into any place, that she can't have the heat blasting on her, period. And so now she was able to tell her family that. Now she's able to tell her roommates that. And so that type of exploration of the somatic issues which are going on can help them regulate later in life. So if you see it, address it. Like, oh, I noticed that you're doing this one thing. Not like the doctor did with me, like stop playing with your beard. That's not what you do. But you can be like, oh, I noticed this, this, and this, and this. And then they'll immediately stop doing all the things that they normally do in your office. I'm like, it's fine if you want to do it. No. And then it comes back out like 3 sessions later. Oh, you're doing it again. I'm not a good person. Most of my clients, one of my grown women, she goes, I told my friends about you. We were talking about a therapist. I said, oh yeah, what'd you say? She said, he's mean to me. I was like, oh my God. But I like him and he keeps it truthful and we laugh a lot. And I was like, hell yeah. I worked at Purdue University for the last 5 years. Before that, small school in Minnesota for 5 years, working with athletes, running autism groups, and then working with the boys in the seminary. Came to Purdue, tried to get into athletics. COVID happened, all the jobs got shut down, so I ended up switching to Purdue because I knew it was going to be autism-centered, at least in my mind. Like I knew that was going to be my mission. And then now I quit that job in September 2nd, have my own private practice, shit ton of clients, super busy, haven't taken a new client since September. And it's because everyone needs a person that's like autism, understanding, or affirming. So my caseload booked up instantaneously. Also, there's not many brown dudes on psychology today. So like, brown dude? Oh, yes. I'm like, you sure? I actually threaten them a lot of the times. I'm like, you keep being mean to me, I'm going to send you the white girl on psychology today. Keep fucking with me. She said, don't do it. I'm like, okay. I love you all ladies. I'm so sorry. I told you this was Heidi and Megan. I'm so sorry, Heidi. So when we're talking about autism, there's a lot of issues that you'll see. It's very hard to diagnose. So look at the hypo stuff too. So things that they're not sensitive to, that does mean something. The hypersensitivity things could be a diaspora of things. Diaspora, it's intense. For me, it's when there's too many people talking at once, deregulated. I had them turn on the microphone, it's too much. The noise coming from this thing and the instability of it was too much. I didn't want to wear specific nicer clothing today because I knew I'd be more nervous. So I wear this very nice athleisure, like not tennis. My big ass isn't playing tennis. Golf. It's golf clothes. Yeah. My dad's like, you sure you don't want to wear the suit? I'm going to die in that thing. Well, you spent all these money on all these suits. It was before I realized I was autistic. I will never use those. I'm going to burn it for fire. I'll probably give it away. I give away most of the things I don't use. So this is for all the folks in here, obviously social workers. There's a lot of different ways in which our communities communicate. I am one that is very hyperverbal, and I like to verbal process with things. I also like to stew on things too. Some of your kiddos are going to be really good, and they're going to be yappers. They will not shut the hell up, and you won't be able to say anything, and you'll be like the last 5 minutes, oh my God, breathing. Yeah, do that. Those are my favorite clients, but it's so difficult to work with them because you can't get a word in, and you want to be affirming and to let them talk and gab and gab and gab because no one else is listening to them. People, it's true. No one's listening. And the statistics show that after 2 minutes, someone with ADHD, that intense ADHD, after 2 minutes, people are done with them. And they never go back to them ever again, which is like super fucking sad because they're fantastic people. They're just going to be yappers. So sometimes you just have to work on pivoting. And a lot of us social workers in here aren't that good at being a little bit more brute force. And you just got to pivot it and kind of change it while still being affirming to the kiddo. And then you got some folks that are not good. So I've had folks that are grunters. They just grunt with me. But then eventually we find a topic and I'm like, holy shit, this is the topic? Oh my God. One of them, I'm not getting into it. Nope. It was more homicidal things. But they were just kind of creepy and weird and like super Halloween-y. Like, it was cool. And then now she's like talking. And then she just went on her first couple dates for the first time. And it went fantastic. And she's talking. And it turns out he's like super weird and likes Halloween shit too and like chopped up body parts. And she made a bunch of crude jokes. And it's fantastic. I literally was so happy with her in group therapy. I cried in group therapy because she actually met someone that treated her like awesome, like I did, which was fantastic. You got some folks that I have them write an itinerary for me, so that way my autistic and ADHD stays on topic, but also there's certain things that they want to talk about. And if you go into most medical providers' offices, they usually kind of like push everything really fast. You get 15 minutes, you get super deregulated, you know what to say. So I advise everyone that's autistic or ADHD to please go in with documentation of what you want to talk about, bullet points. You hand it to the doctor says this, this, and this. Wait a minute, refer back to the thing, please. That's a huge thing is most of my autistic individuals are never being listened to in the office. And then, how are you feeling? Fine. You were just crying yesterday. Didn't you just told me your therapist you tried to kill yourself. Why did you just tell me you're fine? I forgot. What do you mean you forgot? I remembered. So some of them will just forget. And it's like a lapse in judgment. Also, they're deregulating in the moment and they're masking. So they're going back to, it's fine. So please, if they have issues with you or talking, communicating, have them bring topics, or after your session is done, have them write down what they would like to talk about next time based on what they've thought or processed within the past few days. I also will have clients that just come in literally with just journals, and I read the journal, and then we kind of talk about the journal. So we process the journal. We don't really talk about a lot of stuff. I don't ask them direct questions because it's more deregulating. It's in the journal, I read it, or it's in the email, I read it, or it's in the encrypted portal, and I read it, and then I do it. So now this takes more time off of your time, but you can just do it in the first few minutes of the session. The kid will be fine just sitting there. They're just chilling in the room. They're safe with you. They love you. Read it. Stop forcing them to talk if they're not good talkers. If they want to play a game or stim in your office, then do that. I advise a lot of you to have a lot of nerdy things in there, stimmy things. I know you got to pay for it out of pocket. It sucks. But like the babies will love it. And then other your colleagues will see your office and how like nice and affirming it is. And then they just start donating stuff to you. Like, oh, hey, I got this one toy I want to donate it to you. It's wild. And then when you start seeing the autistic kids, they start donating their toys to you for the other kids that you work with. I'm like, baby, you don't have to do this. It's fine. I always cry. I always cry. And then when someone plays with the toy that was been donated, I'm like, oh my God. This is for 2017. I'm so terrible. I'm just an emotional mess. I cry all the time. People are like, you shouldn't cry in therapy. Well, I'm fucked on that one. Really pushing the nonverbal stuff. So a lot of people have to have a gift to find things to open them up. It could be sports, video games, anime. So I really need folks to stop just being, and I'm sure all of you are magnificent at this, but ask all the peripheral questions to engage with them. If they want to just send you the music videos or the music that they like, and then you talk about that, because you'd be surprised. You hear some music and it's like, I want to die. And I'm like, we should probably talk about that. If they're talking about, they love to read. So one of my girlies, sisters, moderate support needs, a family, psychiatrist sent me the family. And the other girlie, high functioning athlete, high functioning student, very tall, very gorgeous, very strong. And she deregulates constantly. And she's arguing with the mom constantly, who's also autistic. Mom doesn't know that. It is what it is. It's funny, it's not funny, it's crazy. And so my girlie can't talk to me about what's happening in the house, so she records it. Not saying that you should do not tell your clients to do that, but she doesn't have the words. So she sent me a 15-minute recording of her and her mom just screaming at each other. I'm like, girl. So we'll talk on Sunday. The reason why I bring her up is because I asked her how she's doing. Fine, everything's fine. I'm like, okay, it's fine. I'm sure it's fine. You just sent me 3 recordings on how you hate your life. Girl, when I heard her talk about books the other day, and she was like, oh yeah, I love reading books. I was like, you do? I thought you were just a jock athlete. No, I love books. So she sent me the list. Immediately, I used my Rolodex of clients, sent them a text. I said, have you heard of these books? She said, yes. I said, do you have any recommendations for this client? She said, this. Immediately sent it to my client. We talked about it. Her face, I've never seen her that happy ever. Ever. She's usually extremely angry. Whether she's autistic or not, she's some type of neurodivergent because what's going on in the family, in the background, in the anxiety, performance issues. She's trying to become a D1 athlete. She most likely will be with the book. And she said, yeah, this one helped me actually navigate a lot of stuff that's going on at home. It's like, okay. Guess who has homework this week? Probably not going to read that book, but I'm going to ChatGPT that shit. Sorry if those of you don't agree with AI. I cannot operate and function without AI. I know it's horrible for a lot of different things, but I would not be able to help all these other babies without AI. If you want to hate someone, hate my students at Purdue University. They're actually creating the AI. Hate them. Don't hate my ass. Don't hate my disabled ass. But I do have to do that for our Sunday meeting. So social needs, you get some that crave it, some that don't crave it. You will get some folks that have been beaten so badly from social experiences that they may question their sexuality. So a lot of us will identify as asexual, or aromantic. You'll see that if you see asexual, aromantic, immediately ears up, oh, okay, this could be a neurodivergent, like autism type thing. Doesn't mean it is, but it's another thing you add to the tally. Usually you have to tease out finding and figuring out their emotions for partners and friends who are safe people. Is it sexual attraction? Is it not sexual attraction? Is it the medication that they're on that's causing a lack of libido or whatever the hell's going on, right? So it can be more nuanced. You get some folks like my brother that are super social, but then also he just hides in his room all day. So it just really depends. Some folks really like strict schedules. It just depends on if you've got that type of autism or the ADHD autism where you just it's just chaos. Everything's chaos, but it's an organized chaos and you get it, but anyone else would probably explode. I like routines. I always think about myself when I'm reading my stuff that I wrote. I like routines, but I also am somewhat flexible on a lot of different things. Special interest, brother. If they like anime, I'm sorry, start thinking about it. If they like a lot of musicals, I like musicals in anime. Well, chicken tenders too? Oh my God. The dinosaur ones. If they eat the dino nuggies at 30, they're autistic, period. If they're still eating Uncrustables, probably autistic. If you're eating them because your kids are eating them, it's different. You guys gotta stop laughing because you're riling me up. So the special interest, there's a ton of different hobbies. So a lot of artsy, creative ones. You'll see a lot of the sewing or stitching, cross stitch. You're gonna see a lot of that in our communities. Very self-regulating, very. Well, you're definitely neurodivergent. Like, I mean, you're black in America. I assume that's your racial background. You might be transracial. You know, I don't know. Okay, black. The glasses are yellow. That's a little bit different. You're sewing right now too. You're laughing a lot. So in our population, you just be a normal like black individual, and like we would just vibe and kick it. And then I start to see you clucking like a chicken. I'm like, yeah, you're probably autistic. And I make that joke, but my ass will just start clucking things and like shouting shit. I'm like, why am I doing this? And my dad will be like, will you shut up in there? I'm doing my case notes. It's so hard to do case notes without saying weird shit. Or like I'll do a case note and think about the kid and I'm like, I love this kid. I'm gonna send them a message and be like, you're a jackass. I love having a private practice because I get to send people encrypted messages and they're like, why? I didn't need this. I'm 13, Nas. I'm like, yeah, it's fine. That's actually not true. That's very true. Some folks are highly expressive. I have some individuals that are very, very, very articulate in their emotions and their thoughts and their feelings, but it doesn't mean that they actually feel them. So you'll see a lot of us individuals, I'm not sure if this is what I was getting at, will intellectualize everything. So you'll see a lot in the male counterparts, like Nas, they don't feel anything. Girl, I know he's feeling something. He look angry right now. He looking right at me. He angry. He don't even like your ass. So intellectualizing our thoughts and feelings. So I will have to teach my clients to like how to show up better for their partners, how to show up better for their kids. Not because they don't love their kids, but they actually don't understand the teaching or the methodologies or the things that they should do for those kids because that's not what they need to feel soothed and connected. And so we have to teach this cognitive empathy, which I feel like we're teaching a lot of like horrible people these days what actual empathy is, or cognitive empathy. But a lot of autistic individuals like, oh, I didn't know that's the thing that I should do. I didn't know that they were struggling with that. I didn't know that my behavior would cause this reaction. And so we're working on the scripting and the interpersonal process in like empathy. And so I'm teaching a lot of men on this is some of the things that you probably should do. Well, why would I do that? Because you love your partner. Oh, and if you love your partner, this is what you do. So it's almost like teaching kids. Like, this is what good boys do. Instead of just like shitting on them. Like normally we teach kids by showing them this is what good people do. This is what good people do. This is what good people do. And they're like, oh, well, I'm a good person. So this is what good people do. So this is what I'm going to do. So we teach a lot of cognitive empathy in my office. One of my boys, he hasn't went on a date in years. He graduated Purdue University a couple years ago, and his siblings, his sisters, sent him to me that I worked with at the university, not him. And so he went on his date the other day, and I said, hey, man, I got him to go on the date. We worked through the social anxiety and all this other stuff. I got him out of the fixation of like doing his engineering job. And like, hey, you want friends? You want to socialize? You want a date? Okay, we're gonna have to do this. Well, if I go on Hinge, then we get married. I'm like, wait a minute. There's a lot of steps, my guy, before we get married. I'm gonna be real with you. You're probably gonna get rejected by a lot of girlies, and they're not even gonna respond to you. Like, it's fine. He found an awesome woman. They started talking, a lot of common intersections. He's like, oh, I'm not anxious for the date. I was like, you're not? Oh my God. I'm anxious for you. After the date, I said, I need you to text me after the date because I know you're gonna be feeling a lot of things, but if you're not feeling things, don't just tell me I'm okay. Full-blown meltdown afterwards because then it brought up all these other things in his past and these triggers, rejection, other dates. But he said it went fantastic. We talked about not having any caffeine to make sure he wasn't anxious, even though he doesn't have caffeine issues. I'm like, no, let's not do that. I was like, I know that alcohol calms you down, and this is what you do. A lot of autistic people will drink alcohol to like regulate and to come down more so than other folks. We have high rates of addiction. I was like, we're not gonna do no alcohol, no coffee. You're just gonna sit there and get a fucking juice or Kool-Aid. It's like, Nas, I don't think they serve Kool-Aid at the bar. They got something. So they went on the date, and he texted me, and I said, how was your facial skills? Did you smile? Did you nod? I said, ask her questions. If you get nervous, just ask her questions. But sometimes you stare at me, dude, and I can't you're just there. And I know that you don't hate me, and I know that you're engaged, but she's probably gonna think that you're not paying attention. So we worked on it in a very affirming way, and I also talked about how me, myself, is the same exact way. So all you're seeing today is an act. A lot of you are like, I would never talk to him. This is all an act. This is not me at all. The version of me that you're seeing today is an educated one, But specifically, it's a deeply traumatized individual that uses humor to make sure and disarm all of you, to make sure you're not safe people, to make sure you're not going to kick my ass or murder me. Very sad, but FYI, this is a mask. A lot of people of color do this, a lot of queer people do this, FYI. Whenever you see a jokester, they're not actually a jokester. They're probably just trying to regulate to make sure they're safe. Back to fun stuff. So he goes on the date, and he's like, yep, I did this, I did this. He's like, I don't know if I nodded enough. I'm like, I don't know how to answer that, but like, I guess you'll see if she texts you tomorrow. She did text. She did text, because he is a fantastic young man. But he's got some stutters and some stammers, and so a lot of my boys with women too, with speech impediments, they learn to just shut up. My best friend, autistic, all my friends are autistic. I didn't even realize they were all autistic until I found out I was autistic. But he's very much nonverbal, and even with his wife in relationship, very much nonverbal. I didn't know why. I thought that was just who he was. And eventually he just blurts out, oh, it's because I got bullied so bad because of my stammer, so I just stopped talking. I was like, when? He was like, oh, when I was in elementary school. I was like, oh, so let me shut up and allow you to talk more often. So I'll just wait his ass out. He was like, so we're not going to say anything? I was like, floor's yours, brother. I was going to go on the whole thing, oh, I love him and his daughter, but I don't feel like crying. So we're going to move past that. I didn't know what real happiness was until I saw his little girl. She's 3 years old. Fantastic little autistic girly. And he's like, how do you know? I'm like, trust me, brother, I know. But like, the highlight of my life has been connected to this dude. He was my high school quarterback, and I was an offensive lineman, and I knew back then he was awesome because he got me through a lot of shit and horrible things, and then now he's fantastic. And just like a lot of autistic fathers, they're terrified that they're not going to be good dudes because they're not super emotional, not very talkative. They're afraid that they're not going to be able to play with their kids. He battled addiction issues being in the military. Ever since he was born 3 years ago, has not touched an ounce of alcohol. He's the best dad I've ever fucking seen in my life. Still won't talk to his wife. Still sucks at that. We're working on that. But the way he acts with his little girls is like magic. I told him that he was a good dad the other day, and he just started crying. I was like, holy shit, I haven't seen you cry in like 5 years. Fantastic. I love our population. Even when we don't talk or don't show nonverbals, we're always having something going on. Oh, wait a minute. FYI, I tend to forget this. Some of us do have what we call low empathy. And so where we may not actually feel a lot. So some of us will not actually feel a lot. And so it will be a lot of intellectualizing. I always like to say for a majority of us, we feel immense emotions. Our body just isn't showing it to you. But we often feel way too many of emotions and we redact it back. But there's a small population that is low on the empathy scale. Oh my God, executive functioning is the worst shit. Yeah, so executive functioning I thought would just be like homework. No. When you dig into our population, it's bathing, it's showering, washing the dishes, putting the sheets on your bed. Girl, I will go like a week without sheets on my bed. I'm like, they're right there. Why can't I put them right there? You'll see the brushing teeth and hygiene pretty bad. As they get to college age, the dishes, laundry, buying food or cooking food gets really bad. So you're going to start seeing executive functioning issues like that. Sleep issues, it all impacts executive functioning. Usually executive functioning is, I feel like I said that way too many times, is the horrible ability to initiate a task. So you'll see the anxiety or the ADHD start that task initiation or activation energy, extremely delayed, extremely difficult, because they know that they got 50 tasks for the day. They know that they're disabled, and they know that they're not going to get them all done. So immediately they quit and deregulate. And also, this task is going to take like 2 hours. I don't want to do a test at 2 hours because I got like an hour's worth of energy. So you see the activation energy to do that thing, that paper, that presentation that all of us procrastinated on, is even harder for folks that are autistic, that are multidimensionally overtasked on a million things. Hell, then you got some that are like my PhD students and people like me, people like many of us in this room, that are so good at getting things done and so well organized. You're like, just how? Like, yeah, this is trauma. Yep. Some of us are just really good. Some of us are grinders in the room. Some of us have to do this because of our background, our family, our ancestors, and our culture, our race. Like for me, people doing it for like my hood and my people, right? To help out little brown and black individuals, right? So there's a drive. There's always a drive. People are like, Nas, why don't you like hang out as much? Well, for one, I don't like going to the bar. It's too hot. I'm not paying all that money for like I almost said drugs. For alcohol, depends what state you're in. We're in Indiana, so no drugs, if you want to. But there's a lot of reasons why I don't like going out, and then people will be like, well, nah, since you don't like date, you must be gay. What? So I'm automatically gay because I didn't date anybody. Okay. And that's when I start teasing people, especially when dudes tell me, I'm like, you are pretty good looking. They're like, oh, wait a minute, man. I was just saying, hey, it's fine, you good looking, man. Reason why I say this is because I have certain functions for like certain things. And I want to do certain things. I want to feed and give back to certain people. I've got people at home that I need to support and like generations of like little ones that I'm trying to heal. And that means much more to me than like certain relationships. I contextualize into things in a very different way than other folks. And they'll be like, oh, that's weird and that's different. That's just who I am. Please stop trying to set me up on dates. They're like, I got this nice person. I'm like, they are quite lovely. Also, I barely have time to sleep. So how am I going to fit someone else in there? And I will never hurt anyone and not give them the emotions and support that they need, because that's what I never got when I was a kid. And so I would never do that to my romantic partner. The masking is the biggest thing that kills like most of us. For some folks in the room, like the one that laughs at everything over there, I love you. So I'm sure your ADHD, she's just zoned out. There you go. Yep. Oh, look at you. Eye contact. Yeah, eye contact. So masking. So I'm sure that you mask sometimes, correct? Would you say that it's masking in like a neurodivergent way, or would you say more like a code switching way, like all the white folks and you're at a highly brown table? Okay. You are? Look at you. How are you not in jail? You can. That's fantastic. Was it always like that, or did you come into that? Before you came into that, was it a little bit more hypervigilant, aware, insecure, imposter syndrome, trying to put on the white face or whatever face that you thought you needed to put on? Yes. So a lot we talk about code switching when it comes to folks of color. We talk about code switching when it comes to queer identities. But then also there's the neurodivergent code switching, which is now usually everywhere. And what ends up happening is they have no idea who the hell they are because they've been acting differently in every single scenario since they were kids. So the closest commonality you can get to this is someone who's very anxious, traumatized, and then biracial. And then they usually go to a school that's not usually the same identity in the biracial background. Because now you see the code switching. When they go to college, it's a code switch. When they go back home, it's a switch, right? Because I act very different here than I do back in Flint, Michigan. If I act the way I act here, that's just not going to go over well in Flint. It's a mostly black population. It ain't happening. So I'm always switching. I'm always switching. But the neurodivergent one, it's like everywhere all the time until you find safe people. So someone that laughs at my jokes, like is chill like you, me and my father would be like, yeah. I can see my father just kind of scooting his wheelchair up to you. My son's weird, isn't he? That's the first thing he's going to say. And then he'd be like, do you like Arabic food? And then he would invite you over while I push him. That's just the visual that I saw in my head. Okay, we got to start moving it here. So there's a lot of free assessments on a couple different web pages. The autism quotient is the 50 question ones. When you Google autism test, that's the first one that pops up. I missed an A in RADS. So the RADS R is very, very statistically significant. If they test positive on that, it's most likely that they are going to test positive when they get neuropsych testing. The reason why I'm putting up like free resources, also these resources will be on the link in the QR codes on the cards. I have a whole PDF of like 4 hours of testing you can look at. The lexithymia quiz, which I talked about, inability to identify emotions, the visualization stuff, looking at hyperphantasia or aphantasia. Either one of those reciprocals are really good. And then I have a checklist that's in there as well too. So if you look at the card, which is on the table, you'll take a screenshot of that later. That's going to send you to the podcast page. I'm not trying to get you to follow the podcast, but if you scroll down on that link tree, then there's going to be a thing talking about like hyperlink screeners resources. There's going to be a thing about mental health and athletes. So my weird brain, every single article that comes out, I have a Google search, and every athlete that has a mental health related issue, I document it. So I have like a 40, 50, 60 page Google Doc of every documented thing for the last 15 years. But I'm not autistic. So that's a fantastic thing for you to do. Why do I push this? Because it's a cool thing that you can use with your kiddos or your families that doesn't cost anything. You're going to see on a lot of these websites, all the resources and worksheets, everything I have on there, everyone's going to charge you. That's just like that's what people do. I'm giving this shit away for free, do not care. I don't get any money for any of that stuff, period. I made it during COVID, this massive brain and Google machine that you can get like lost in. And most of my autistic clients helped me make this at my old school because we had nothing to do during COVID. So this is what we did. I do need to talk about this. Make sure you're checking the lighting in the room and how intense that is, or checking in with the kiddo. So, okay, hey, how's the sensory in right now? Are you overstimulated? Like, oh, what does that mean? How are you with the lights? Is it too bright, too soft, too dark? How is it when you're too close to the kid? So a lot of therapists like to be knee to knee. That is not my vibe. I don't like to be knee to knee. I don't like to be close like that. So I'm usually like further away in my rolly chair. I like to be in the rolly chair. That way I can access the computer, look at YouTube videos. We can talk about books. I can go get one of the toys. I can go grab a book or a comic. I can go grab a fidget toy if I need to and give it to them. The studies and statistics show at 45-degree angle. So they want you at a 45, fucking all you are turned sideways. Whatever, you know angles. 45-degree angle. Why? Because if you're at this angle, I get to look this way consensually. And if I want to look at you in the eyes, I get to consensually agree to that instead of being forced into this very intense dynamic. And if they have a crap ton of trauma and you are trauma informed, you understand that a lot of emotions are through the eyes and emotional intimacy is through the eyes. And it's very scary for a lot of people with social anxiety, severe trauma. So it's fantastic when they can look up at you and they get to choose because you're like, hi. And they're like, why are you looking at me like that? I don't know, why are you looking at me? So remember 45-degree angles if you can, or do your best to make it to where you're not knee to knee. So if I can teach you something today, minus all the other stuff, it's fantastic stuff, is making sure your room is more affirming. Making sure that, I'm sure many of you already do this, that you're having things that represent queer individuals, that talks about other mental health things, that you have like cool nerdy stuff in your office, things that show them you and who you are. Well, we were taught not to self-disclose. Well, I didn't tell them to go in there and tell about your marriage issues. I'm saying is let the kid know that you are also a human and an individual that they can trust, because you are teaching them how to perceive individuals and trust safe people. So you need to show them on what that safe person is. My mentor told me, you have a large responsibility. And I said, why? And she said, because you're a brown dude and a large brown dude. So a lot of people are going to heal from you. And I said, I don't want that. I didn't want that. I don't ask for that. I'm sobbing while she's doing this too. And the funny thing is they sent her to me when I was getting kicked out of my master's program because my autistic ass said a couple wrong things. But I didn't really know what the hell I was doing. And I was just trying to show up and I didn't know how to do case notes, right? Because I was going to be a physical therapist. And so they were kicking me out and they decided, well, we're going to put you with this black woman, word for word, this black woman, because she'll get you right. And what the fuck does that mean?
She gonna get you right. That's what that means.
And she did. But they meant it in a very derogatory way based on race. And you can feel it off of their white lips. And then when I got to her, she's fantastic, magnificent, the most loving, awesome person. I didn't have money for therapy, didn't know what the hell therapy was. Guess who got free therapy in her office once a week after work? Yes. She's awesome now, retired now. But why do I talk about this is because she taught me a lot about affirming care. And she taught me on how to show up and use my personality, and that my individuality, my authenticity will let people be connected to me and heal, and that I needed to be better as a man because I need to show other women what it is to be around a good dude, a playful dude, and other dudes, and because I'm so huge, on how to show other dudes to man the fuck up and be better. So I have a great responsibility to work with a lot of dudes and a lot of athletes, and I'm rewriting so much horrible stuff that they're watching online or the generational stuff in which their families taught them. So this is why I want you to be authentic in your rooms, because it means something to the kiddos. Because if they see this awesome person, they're like, oh, so this is the 3 or 4 things that I know I can trust. Mood stabilizers, Abilify, Latuda, fantastic for our population. Effexor and Prestique, they're SNRIs, fantastic for our population. You'll see sleep and anxiety medications like trazodone is usually very common, and hydroxyzine for panic or sleep. So just know that you should know your psychopharmacology. If you don't know your psychopharmacology, you're actually unintentionally harming your clients because they don't have the words. And you're probably going to have to write a referral letter for your clients. So whenever I send my kid to a doctor now, there's a referral letter first. And some people are like, oh, go to the doc at the school or go to this doc. I have to send the referral letter first on what I see what's going on. And then if they will talk to me, then I have them talk to me. But there's a lot of good medications. Oh, I forgot, medical issues. If you see POTS, PMDD, then start to be like, okay, so there's some things. Some autistic women experience these at a higher rate than others. It also should be noted PCOS is pretty high in our populations, specifically for, well, women usually, I think, count for 80% of autoimmune disorders. Many of them are neurodivergent autistic women. So when you start to see autoimmune disorders, POTS, PMDD, PCOS, and Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which is hypermobility, for those of you that have some of these things, I'm sorry for calling you out, but there's a chance that you are a certain type of neurodivergent. Oh my God, the long emails that I get are wild. We're not going into that. And so when we start to talk about boundary settings with the emails or communication, like what's effective, how they're overwhelming some people in an affirming way, you have to give people good handoffs. Like you have to give them good handoffs to the doctors, to the disability center, their disability plans in the school, like whatever it is, group therapy. You have to know the person and trust them because you don't want them to send your kid to it. Then they get harmed. Now they don't trust you, and now the family doesn't trust you. So knowing who you're sending people, if you can, knowing them is very beneficial. I write a lot of referrals out. All right. I don't know. I think we're out of time, right? We're out of time. All right. What are we doing? Are we doing questions, or we're just going to do my Q&A question thing? I think we're just going to do the Q&A question thing. Yes. Do this for me. So this is my Instagram. For the pod, we do a lot of magnificent things. Awesome therapists that are on there, mostly folks of color that you'll see. If you could scan that, you can follow us. You can mute my ass if it's too much. I'm completely fine with that. But the more followers that we get, I think we're at like 38, almost 39,000. The more information you can get out there about autism, and they can see some fantastic guests. I think the podcast dropped with my homegirl yesterday, track and field, all-star, almost Olympian, until some bad injuries. So we just did a podcast on All-American. The week before, we had a fan interview us about the Good Doctor. It's fantastic pods in there. If you want the Spotify for the podcast, this is the link here that you can just click on it. You're more than welcome to follow that. This is what I actually want you guys to do. If you could do this, because you don't have to follow anything. Once you scan this, for those of you that enjoyed me, oh my God, if you didn't enjoy me, don't click on this. If those of you that did enjoy me, or you think I have some beneficence to humans and maybe I can reach some humans and you're like, I can sign off on this, scan this. You don't have to follow. If you want to, awesome. And just give it a 5-star rating. I don't show up any differently on here than I do the pod. You can't give me a 5-star on Spotify unless you actually listen to a pod first. Bastards. I appreciate all of you and all the work that you do as a social worker, as a person, as a human, as a parent, as a caregiver, as a niece, uncle, nephew, whatever it is that you are, all your identities. I love all of you. It's a blessing to be here as someone who's been suicidal a lot and a lot of homicidal thoughts too. As someone that's been homeless, it's really awesome to do these type of things. It's awesome for my homie to sign me up for this. It's awesome for Megan to believe in me. I appreciate this a ton. My father appreciates this a ton. He would be here, but he's the bronchitis and disabled, so I have it recorded. Just much respect and much love for everyone that allowed me to talk today. I apologize if there was any weird stuff that I said. Life is very hard for all of us in here. I try to use comedy to help us out. So if I did say anything, I am deeply sorry. We can talk to me afterwards and I can change my nomenclature, but much appreciation, much love for all of you. All of you are doing the best that you can do. Support yourselves, and remember the best self-care thing that you can do is like stop taking on so much as social workers, not adding more shit to your plate, setting boundaries. So whenever people are like, you need to add things or do more skills, no. Most likely what we need to do as a population is to take things off of your plate and set more boundaries. Just because you set boundaries does not mean you're an asshole. It does not mean that you're being a nasty woman. So I teach my girls that all the time. So much appreciation. Thank you.